Somber Hollow was a place of whispers, of shadows long and unbroken even at midday. Nestled between jagged cliffs and a dense forest, the town was a forgotten relic, a place where time sagged like the rotting beams of its ancient homes. Yet, for all its gloom, the people of Somber Hollow carried on, as if the world beyond the dark woods did not exist. Life persisted until the wail began. The first cry came one brittle autumn night. The town's residents, drifting into uneasy sleep, were torn awake by a sound that defied earthly description. It was mournful yet piercing, like the anguish of a mother grieving her lost child, but layered with something otherworldly, a resonance that seemed to vibrate inside their skulls. No one could locate the source, yet the sound filled the streets, rattling windows and shivering through the timbers of every house. When morning came, old Mabel, who lived near the edge of the forest, was found cold in her bed. Her face was contorted in terror, her hands clutching at her chest as if she had tried to pull her own heart free from its moorings. Her death was tragic, but not surprising. She had been frail for years. The town muttered condolences, buried her swiftly, and tried to move on. But the wailing returned the following night. This time it was louder, more insistent, dragging the entire town into restless wakefulness. The sound was everywhere and nowhere, seeming to seep from the ground, the sky, and the air itself. By dawn, another body was found. Young Thomas, the blacksmith's apprentice, had died in his sleep. His youthful strength had not spared him, his heart had simply stopped. Fear took root. Some whispered that it was a storm trapped in the cliffs, its howling carried by peculiar winds. Others turned to scripture, muttering prayers against devils and specters. Yet most remained silent, their faces drawn and pale. Deep down, they knew the truth. This was no natural force, no trick of the wind or punishment from the heavens. This was something ancient, something malevolent. The wail continued, night after night. Each morning brought another corpse, each more horrifying than the last. Eleanor, the schoolteacher, was found with her eyes wide open, staring into the abyss as if she had seen the end of all things. The baker's twin sons, mere children, were discovered huddled together in death, their faces streaked with tears they hadn't the strength to wipe away. As the night stretched on, the wail grew unbearable. It was not merely heard, it was felt, reverberating through bones and rattling teeth, clawing at the edges of sanity. Sleep became impossible. Even the bravest, the strongest, found themselves crumbling under the weight of it. The town became a place of hushed panic. Doors were bolted, windows shuttered, but nothing could keep the sound at bay. The church bell, once a symbol of hope, remained silent. Even Father Gabriel had fled into the woods, babbling prayers as he stumbled into the darkness. Soon, the deaths began to multiply. It was no longer one or two each night, it was families, entire households, their faces frozen in expressions of unspeakable fear. The town's once lively market square was now empty, its cobblestones slick with autumn rain and eerily quiet save for the relentless wail. The forest, which had always seemed a menacing boundary, now became an unspoken escape route. A few tried to flee, but none returned. The brave, the desperate, those who could not bear another night under the wail's oppression, all vanished into the dark woods. The town's population dwindled, the few who remained too paralyzed by dread to move. And still, the wail persisted. One night, when the town was little more than a scattering of empty homes and broken souls, the wail reached its crescendo. It was a roar of torment, the collective cry of countless unseen spirits. The ground itself seemed to tremble, the cliffs groaning as if they might split apart. The remaining townsfolk huddled in their homes, shaking and weeping, clutching at rosaries or relics, anything to shield themselves from the inevitable. The wail cut off abruptly, leaving a silence that was more terrifying than the sound itself. For a moment, there was only the stillness of the night, the oppressive weight of a world holding its breath. Then the earth erupted. The cliffs surrounding Somber Hollow crumbled inward, sending avalanches of stone and soil into the town. The forest seemed to ignite from within, flames racing up the trunks of the ancient trees as if they had been waiting for this moment. The very ground beneath the town split open, swallowing buildings and lives alike. By dawn, nothing remained of Somber Hollow. The cliffs had sealed themselves, leaving no trace of the town's existence. The forest was a charred wasteland, its blackened stumps pointing skyward like accusing fingers. And in the air, faint but unmistakable, lingered the Banshee's wail, a haunting reminder of the doom it had foretold. For those who stumbled upon the barren ruins in the years to come, the stories of Somber Hollow were little more than myths. But some nights, when the wind carried just right, travelers would swear they could hear it, the mournful, soul-piercing cry of a banshee, warning of a fate worse than death. It was a sound no one who heard it would ever forget.